Hi folks, Jenny here. I am not a plant YouTuber. I am an ukulele YouTuber. Currently, it's not even my job. It's just something I do for fun, and I have some lovely patrons who support me. So join us over on Patreon if you also like ukulele. But this is not an ukulele video. I am going out on a limb here. No plant pun intended, because I'm going to make some videos, if there's interest, on my Hoya plant collection. Hoya is my favorite genus. Plants started out as just sort of apartment decor, and I had a handful of them. Then came the pandemic, and like a lot of people, I started getting into plants more seriously. I had to move in the pandemic, and I found myself in an apartment with a lot of light and some more space than I'd had in the previous apartment. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, New York, so it's not huge, but I have better light for plants here than I did in my old place, and I had way more time on my hands, so I sort of indulged myself and found a lot of fun and relaxation and contentment doing some indoor gardening, and found that Hoya was my favorite genus. If you're here, it's probably because you like Hoya, and like me, you search the word Hoya on YouTube and you look at all of the different people's Hoya collection videos. And I love to do that, so I thought, even though I'm not a plant YouTuber, maybe I could make one myself, and maybe some other people who love Hoyas would have fun watching it. Now, I am not a video editor, nor do I want to be, and if you watch my ukulele videos, you know they're very light on the editing, but I thought if I make these slightly shorter videos and I make a series of them, I can get away without as much editing. I do tend to be chatty. I've been told that before, so hence this long introduction. It's also my first video in this series. But I have created some shorts highlighting for 15 seconds some of my plants that are Hoya, so you can watch those if you'd rather not hear me ramble on. I'll also put timestamps in the description box so you can skip from plant to plant, see what you're really interested in. But for today's video, since it's an introduction, I'm just testing the waters, I thought I would pull 5 or 6 plants that are close to me. I'm filming this at my computer desk. I just grab the closest plants and I will show them to you, and if there's enough interest, I'll film more of these. I probably have 60 or maybe even 70 Hoya. That was never my goal, but you know, they have a way of multiplying, and of course, as people who like Hoya know, there are an awful lot of different kinds out there. I focus, just if you're in that world, I focus mostly on the more common ones and the more inexpensive ones. So I don't have a lot of the really amazing variegated and fancy and rare plants. I don't have a grow tent. I don't have a big humidifier. I am in a New York City apartment where it's cold and dry in the winter and warm and humid in the summer, and you know, what Hoya can survive here are welcome to live with me if I can find a place to put them. And I've surprised myself with how creative I can be about where to put them so that I can get up to as many as I have. So let me share with you what is working for me and what is not working for me. And then you let me know in the comments how they do in your home. If you have any care tips for any of the ones I'm having trouble with, please share them. And let me know if you want to see more. I can share more Hoya. I could share my non-Hoya plants. I could show you a tour of where they actually are in the home. But that's enough introduction for right now, so let me just show you these plants without further ado. One of the first full-size Hoya plants I ever bought for myself was the Hoya Chelsea, which is a pretty common variety. You see it in a lot of garden stores. I really like this plant. You'll notice some white residue on it, like this leaf has a lot, because last year I had what I thought, and I still think, was an infestation with the mites that make the knobby growth, and like, you know, I was losing some new leaves. Like, it just wasn't a good scene. And so, though I did not have a microscope at the time, I treated everything with sulfur, and I think it helped because things exploded with new growth. So whether it was really mites or whether they just liked the sulfur, I do think there were some mites on some of the plants. This one has lost a little bit on top, but at some point I will start cutting back and propagating so I can fill in. Just for now, I've just been letting it do its thing. I don't have any fancy grow lights, but I did get some grow light bulbs and put them in one of my light fixtures. So this one gets some of that light, and I think it really likes it. I have a couple of Hoya that I bottom water routinely, and this is one of them. Most of the Hoya I water from the top. Also, most Hoya I have put into a chunky mix, but a few of them I've left in whatever they came in, and this is one I have not changed the soil in yet. So it's in whatever it came whatever, I don't remember who I bought it from, but however they gave it to me, that is what's still in here. And at some point I will repot it, but I'm just like, I don't want anything to happen to this plant. It's really, I love it, even though I know it's not rare or unusual to have a Hoya Chelsea. So that's the Hoya Chelsea. Holding things up to the camera is really new to me. I don't do that in ukulele videos unless it's just like to show a chord. So we'll see. I'm not a natural at this. Another one that I got more recently is the Hoya Minibelle. This plant looks a little rough, I'll just warn you, because for a while it was right in one of my big east windows. It got a lot of light, and I think it got a little too much light. And so I pulled it back quite a bit from the window to let it recover, and my cat discovered it and realized that if she chewed on it a little, I would get up and pay attention to her to shoo her away from the plant. And now I think she's trying to train me to feed her when she nibbles on my plants, and I'm trying to avoid reinforcing that. But you know, most sources will say that Hoya are non-toxic to cats and dogs. I can't speak to that. I'm not a plant professional or a veterinarian, but because it has that sap in the plant that you see if you break a stem or a leaf off, I don't want my cats ingesting it, even if it is non-toxic. And I know non-toxic plants can also make pets sick. So I am going to keep her from ingesting large amounts of this, don't worry. It also has the evidence of a couple little peduncles on it. I think you can see that there in the center if I hold it against my skin. There it is. But I've never seen any blooms on it, or even, what is it, pedicels? I've never seen them forming. So it's either secretly tried to grow and then blasted them, or it hasn't gotten that far. But I'm hopeful that if I maybe move it back a little closer to the window, but not as close as it was before, and continue watering it a little bit more because it's in a nice chunky mix, I might get blooms on this in the spring. So we'll see. I do really like this plant, and it's pretty forgiving. It's a cross, I think, between the shepherdii and the carnosa. And just a word about botanical Latin again. I'm not an expert, and botanical Latin, I've been told by a source that I read online, was not really meant to be pronounced. So there's a lot of debate on how certain words are pronounced. Unless you're the person who named the plant, I guess then maybe you get to say. But I'll pronounce them to the best of my ability, and I may be pronouncing them like everyone else, or I may not. You know, who knows. Another plant that is sort of medium age, it's not one of my earliest plants or one of my latest plants, is this obovata, Hoya obovata, with variegation on the inside. I don't have, as I said, very many fancy variegated plants, but this one was one I got as a smaller cutting and has been doing okay. It's not growing super fast. It maybe could use a little more light, a little more water, but I really like it. And I had a little smaller than this obovata that was variegated that I bought in a local plant store, and I underwatered it, and I didn't know how to save it at the time, and I threw it out without realizing I could try to reroot it. So I'm learning from my mistakes, and I let myself have a new variegated obovata eventually, and I'm hopeful that I can continue to take care of this one well. It's just really lovely. I do have a plain green obovata that may not seem fancy, but I also really like, and I love how wild it is with all the tendrils. So this one hangs on my lamp that has the grow bulbs in it, and it's even got some nice peduncles that bloomed for me finally this year. This is another one I've had for a long time. Well, 3 years or so is a long time for me for plants. And so it was really exciting to have. I got 2 or 3 blooms on it at the same time, and they lasted for quite a while. This is another one that was one of the ones that was treated for mites with sulfur last year and seems to have bounced back really well. It put on some new growth. And again, I love these. It keeps grabbing my hair. I love these vines, and it's just a plain one you could probably find at most garden centers, but I really get a kick out of it. It's fun to have hanging, and so I'm happy that I got a big one. Then 2 more. I have, this is also a second plant, a replacement plant. It is the Hoya obscura, And I love how the leaves kind of look random in this one. I did repot this, but I didn't arrange it in any particular way. It was kind of like this when it came. I bought this one online and it was shipped. It replaced a plant that I had bought as a rehab that was not great looking when I got it, and I wasn't able to save it. Again, I don't think I knew enough about rerooting to really make it work. I should have rerooted it earlier rather than seeing if I could just rehab the plant without rerooting it. But this one I got more recently. It's still adjusting to my home, I think. I waited a while and then I repotted it more recently, so it might be in a little shock from being repotted too. But I'm just kind of trying to figure out what it likes. This is one that if you have it at home, if your obscura grows really well, let me know what it seems to like, because I'm trying to figure this one out. Again, it doesn't look terrible, but it's not living its best life, I don't think. That's the obscura. And then finally, I have here a Hoya callistophylla, some people say. I love the leaves on this one, of course. A lot of people like the veiny leaves. I do think it's really pretty to look at. If I find another stem of this from one of the people in my local plant share and swap groups, or even for sale for, you know, inexpensive, I'll probably add a third or even fourth one to this pot, because I would like to have more plant, and it's not growing particularly quickly, but it also doesn't seem to be doing badly. So this is one that gives me a lot of joy to look at. You know, I have this year, I finally had a bunch of Hoya bloom when I'd never had any bloom really before, maybe a handful, or I'd had 1 or 2 bloom rather, and then this spring and summer, maybe 10 or 12 more bloomed, which was amazing. But I do mostly go in for the leaves when I purchase them, not assuming they're ever going to bloom. And this is a good example of one that if it bloomed, it would be a bonus, but I don't care if it ever blooms. I just like to have the green, and it's gorgeous. So those are the 6 plants I pulled for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I enjoyed sharing them with you, and I'd love to share more. Let me know if you'd like to see more in this series, whether you're an ukulele student or friend, or whether you're just here for the Hoya. I'll be sure to label all the videos very clearly so you can skip one or the other if only one of them interests you. And again, this is not going to become a plant channel. I'm not going to start a second YouTube channel. I mean, I suppose never say never, but that is not my intention at all. I don't have any sponsors, and nobody's paying me to talk about plants. I just enjoy watching other people's and thought I would share some of mine. So let me know if you'd like to see more, and let me know if you have any of these particular Hoya and how they do in your home, and if you figured anything out that it seems like a magical care tip. I'd love to know that too. And I hope that you will visit me again sometime, that I'll have more of these to share. And there is, I'll put it in the description box, I do have a playlist for my Hoya shorts. I'll put this video there too, and I'll just keep all my Hoya videos in one place. You can bookmark that playlist if you want to come back to it later. See ya, folks.